Welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into Spider-Man Brand New Day. This movie was, in my opinion, one of the best Spider-Man movies there are. Tom Holland is my favorite Spider-Man to begin with. I would definitely put him in the top 3 Spider-Man movies. If you don't want spoilers, this ain't the place for you. So, from the get-go, we are watching Spider-Man become Spider-Man once again. The friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, not the Avengers Spider-Man, not the, RDJ Spider-Man. He is becoming his own person again. And with that, he don't have nobody. And seeing him start from the end of the last movie where he just had the sewing machine to now he's built his own advanced technology. It's so cool to see. It does seem kind of strange how him and the detective are always calling each other. That's kind of weird. Because one of them had to be like, hey, just get my number. Like, okay, that's kind of weird. But, the police scanner stuff, that's all from the comic books. That's how it's always been. That is typical Spider-Man. And the stalkerish thing of him watching them go off to college and grow for 4 years while saving the city is so kind of interesting. It is. It's kind of interesting to see how he can watch those videos and watch them grow and see the changes, and then just for him to one day see Ned walk in to get some kegs and then follow him to a house party, and that's their first interaction. And in that, he kind of does to Ned what he does to MJ at the end of the last movie, where he had the opportunity, and instead of saying something, he didn't. I also loved how when they introduced Jean Grey, it was through other people, and that is such a good way to do that, especially because Jean's controlling this guy in the airplane or the helicopter, and Spider-Man's like, okay, I know your jump radius, so takes the helicopter and webs it up. Well, before we know what her powers are, she's got MJ. She's in MJ's body. But she can also take those away. So that pilot just woke up and was webbed to a crane. He was like, what the world? Something that I thought was really cool was whenever the arachnid started taking over, how his eyes changed and how you got that in mask view of his face. That was kind of really cool. That was cool how they did that. That was a good representation of his mutation. Then the introduction of Hulk. And man, that was such a good fight scene. Like when they are just fighting and then the Punisher shows up and starts shooting, and Spider-Man saving his life again. Apparently, I don't know. But it's such a good fight scene, and then it's one of those things because before you ever watched the movie, you had speculation that there was one person. That's because Tom Holland said there was one person who remembered who he was, and that Hulk scene where he sees himself in the reflection, but Peter says, I'm Peter. Well, it makes me wonder if Hulk knew who Peter Parker was, or Bruce Banner got in there and seen himself as the Hulk, and then was just like, no, I'm not. And then he's holding on to and he just lets go, and he falls. There are more emotional scenes. This is what Spider-Man was meant to be. It's supposed to be a person that is going through it just like we all have and we all are going to, and that's why people are drawn to him. Everybody can relate to him because everybody's going through something emotional, whether you like to admit it or not. There's something that's kind of weighing on you, and we get to watch him go through that, and then for him to just confess everything to MJ, and for him to hear her say, I don't love you, it worked, and then have to swing her home. That was the most emotional roller coaster. Like, first off, Jean Grey, you are a devil for what you did to him on the side of that building. Like, to tell him, hold there, Peter. What the world? Coming to the end about MJ and Ned. Okay? When she freezes everybody, I see a lot of people like, oh, the power of friendship is so much more than the power of love. Okay? That's fine. That's fine if you think that. But when she's frozen, when MJ's frozen, you see her crying. Okay? I don't think that that's crying because she's frozen and scared. I think she's given her memory back. Because at the first half, when they were frozen, she wasn't crying. But once Peter started letting her in, and they, then she started crying. The more she got closer to Peter, the more she was fighting with Peter and figuring him out. I think the more that she was giving her memories, because you got to think she evolved when that happened. When she took control and froze everybody, she evolved even farther than her sister was able to. So with that, I think she would be able to evolve even more to give her the memories. Because here's the thing, if the Hulk did remember who Peter Parker was, then she could have got the memories from him to then give to MJ. Now, I don't know if she didn't give it to Ned, I don't think. But at the end, you see her holding that necklace that she was given and sitting on the rooftop where she sat with Peter. And then Ned at the end, doing their handshake. Again, it's such a powerful movie. Now, do I think that they're going to be like, come back and be like, oh, I love you, did you love? No, I don't think that. I think that there's going to be some growth. But I definitely think that this is going to be an easy continuation into the next movie, and then bringing in Miles Morales, because we're going to have a bunch of craziness goes on, and Tom Holland's already said that he wants to be a part of the passing of the torch. So yeah, I mean, this was such a good movie. I honestly have to say that out of all this, just the Spider-Man movies alone, this is number 2 in my book. It's my second favorite over the original Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man. This would have to be number 2 in my book, just because it took him back from Spider-Man, because we didn't get a backstory from him, even though we can assume that it's the same as all the other ones. Uncle Ben died, and Aunt May and all this other stuff, but it really brought him down to a core, and now we're getting to build up on that for the finale of Spider-Man in this sense anyway. So if you like the movie, or if you like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you next week. Goodbye.